Welcome everybody. For those of you that don't know me, which hopefully are not that few, my name is Mark Crottle. I'm the Chief Executive of the Scottish Tourism Alliance, and we're delighted to host this webinar this morning with one of our important patron partners, the Transatlantic Translations Group. And we were very keen to engage with the Transatlantic Translations Group, or TTG, given the importance of being able to communicate with our visitors who come from foreign shores, and not necessarily from foreign shores, who are even here at home, and our employees who where English isn't their first language. And as you all know, we have seen a lot of our workforce shrink since COVID, and in particular, a lot of our international workforce. I was just doing some work only yesterday and feeding some stats back into a couple of colleagues. And in 2019 or 2017, we had 17,000 EU colleagues working in the industry. I think it got even higher, nearer 22,000. And now we've lost, a good number, as I say, of international foreign speakers in the industry. And of course, we're seeing our international visitor numbers grow. So all the more important that we are able to communicate and help attract as well international guests, so they can come here feeling comfortable in the knowledge that we will give them the very best experience. And today's webinar, which is going to be presented to you by both Lauren and Andrew from TTG, will give you some good reasons as to why we should be doing that, and they'll talk you through some of the benefits and the value of actually having both translation on your materials, but also having live interpretation as well. So on that note, I'm going to hand over to Andrew first and foremost to take it from here. But thanks very much for your time. Andrew.
Mark, thanks very much for the introductions. It was great to meet with you and so many of the STA membership in Edinburgh at the end of October. And it's such a privilege to have the opportunity today to share with the audience how embracing language will increase the number of visitors to Scotland and enhance their overall experience. Hopefully, and in turn, this will engender further foreign visitors as the word spreads. Lauren and I will do our best to keep this upbeat, and again, do enter any questions you might have in the chat box. The plan today is to go through a 25-minute or so presentation and then have some decent time for Q&A at the end. Today, we'll share our thoughts and tips around language to hopefully assist your organisation and give you the best opportunity to attract more visitors from overseas. This is absolutely not a sales presentation, but we are going to suggest that in today's world, it is simply not good enough to keep everything just in English. So let's talk languages. There are more than 7,000 languages identified in the world, and yet over half of the world's population speaks just 23 of them. Being aware of language and its importance is essential to understand if you're planning to encourage more visitors to your hotel, guest house, restaurant, or attraction. Billions of people depend on translation and interpreting, some without even realizing it, for many of their everyday needs. I mean, just think about the last time you traveled to a country where you didn't speak a word of the language. There's no shortage of embarrassing translations out there. We've all, I am sure, seen and smiled at the Google translated restaurant menus across Europe and beyond. Hats off to these restaurants who are trying to entice us into their establishments rather than us go next door. But as you see, whether a menu, a health and safety announcement, or whatever, it doesn't always quite translate as was intended. Over to Lauren for the next few slides. You're on mute, Lauren.
Thanks, Andrew. Yeah, thanks for those funny examples. But seriously, aside from these, let's take a look at some interesting data and its implications for the hospitality and tourism sector. First and foremost, whilst Chinese travellers to Scotland have yet to return to pre-pandemic numbers, European visitors are up 30% this year over last. On the other hand, domestic travellers to Scotland are down across the board by around 20% over this same period. It was noted at the STA Autumn Conference in October how this increase in foreign visitors helped cushion the blow from the domestic visitors. Scotland should absolutely ride this wave and continue to take advantage of the foreign visitor influx. Simple measures, like for example website translation, can help build on this growth and boost the Scottish economy. On the subject of websites, in July last year, it was estimated that there were over 5 billion internet users worldwide, with 75% of these users speaking a language other than English. This means that organisations have the opportunity to reach an additional 3.75 billion people just by translating their web content into local languages. This is of particular importance given the significant increase in consumer spending online. COVID certainly had an acceleratory impact, and the trend is only going in one direction across the globe. So 60% of travellers rarely or never book with English-only website destinations. Given that 75% of internet users are non-English speakers, this shouldn't be so surprising and reinforces the fact that having your content available in local languages increases the opportunity to reach and attract a wider range of people. If you think about the last time you booked a foreign holiday for a moment, would you book from a website where at least the key information wasn't in English or a language that you understand? Having to guess creates uncertainty and doesn't fill you with confidence that what you are booking actually fulfills your requirements. So fact, potential customers are more likely to engage and make bookings with destinations that provide essential information in their native language. As a personal example of mine, earlier this year, I spent some time in Chile for the wedding of some good friends of mine. This couple have a visit to the UK on their bucket list, with Scotland at the top of this list of countries that they'd like to experience firsthand. They put it to me that they want to experience the Highlands and the picturesque scenery presented to them in the early seasons of Outlander. The only thing holding them back in their research? The lack of available information in Spanish. So tourist destinations create a more inclusive and welcoming environment for foreign guests through the provision of multilingual support. It allows visitors to navigate websites and promotional materials easily, access information about amenities, services, and local attractions, and make reservations in a language they understand. On top of this, a positive experience encourages customers to leave positive reviews, providing indirect advertising in terms of recommendations within their network. It's important to note, however, that multilingual support isn't purely about language. Relevant support involves specialist knowledge, detangling cultural nuances, and appropriate adaptation for the intended target audience. What sounds good in English may not sound good in another language, and certain colours are seen as offensive in some cultures. Checking potential brand names in the countries you're looking to develop your business into is therefore crucial. A good example of this not quite going to plan was with the release of the car model Nova. In Spanish, Nova literally translates as it doesn't go, and this isn't great advertising for those Spanish drivers. So translators and interpreters are educated, trained professionals who can help businesses of all types overcome those language barriers. TTG only use native target language linguists, where the target is the language into which the text is being translated, acting as a one-stop shop to support and ensure a tailored service. Okay, I'll hand back to Andrew for the next few slides.
Thank you, Lauren. Without wishing to bore everyone rigid, it is important to understand that translation and interpreting are two completely different services. Translation pertains to the written word, whereas interpreting is for the spoken word. Translation and interpreting are the art of rendering text or speech from one language to another, ensuring the English copy is accurately represented and that the output is appropriately adapted culturally for the intended target audience. Generally, although it's not always the case, translators and interpreters are different beasts. It's a different skill set, despite the common denominator being language. There are a number of myths within the world of translations, not something that will have kept many of you up at night, I'm sure, but we did think them worth sharing with you. Myth 1. Anyone can translate a document or a website or whatever if they speak two or more languages. We can hardly blame someone for believing this to be true, for sure. Of course, technically, that is true, but will it be good enough to take your brand international, to attract the visitors you are looking for? Has the translator got the expertise, the subject matter knowledge, and a deep understanding of your audience, such that the text produced is not just clear, but flows so well that the act of translation is invisible? Myth number 2, computers can now do the work of translators. As those of you who were there at the STA conference will have seen, the machine or AI can do so much more than ever these days. This includes machine translation, which has improved greatly in recent years, but it still can't replace humans. And I'm not saying that because I'm in the language sector and in complete denial. For some occasions, perhaps you just want to quickly find out what a text is about. The results may be good enough. But try to use a machine to translate something without a human to check the output. The results can range from funny to downright unprofessional. Machine translation is generally accepted as just another tool that helps professional translators and language service providers deliver the quality required. See it as complementary to, as opposed to a replacement for, a professional translator. Myth number 3, any translator can translate any subject matter. Again, to the man in the street, that sounds eminently doable. When you think about it, though, the reality is different. For best results, professional translators specialize in one or two fields, for example, marketing or law. Drafting a legal document in English requires expert knowledge and skills, and the same applies even more so when translating such documents. In the same way, you would call a plumber, not an electrician, if you have a leaking tap. If your text is in a certain specialized field, you should be looking for a translator with the related skills. And then myth number 4, translation interpreting is just too expensive. We can't pretend that there wouldn't be a cost in translating some copy on your website or having a phone call with a potential visitor via an interpreter. A good translator is a skilled professional with dedicated qualifications and experience, which come at a cost. When you pay for a translation, you're paying for that up-to-date expertise. If you're feeling sick, you want a qualified medical practitioner to examine you. Likewise, if you're adapting your website to attract international visitors, it's definitely best practice to engage a professional and qualified translator. It's your business that's at stake after all, and cutting corners in this area might result in unanticipated costs and opportunity cost. Whatever you spend on translating, for example, your website, should be seen as an investment, and it's the return on that investment which should be the driver. Remember also that you do not have to translate every word on your website, nor translate multiple languages at the same time. You can spread the investment and see the results over time. Imagine how fantastic and how helpful it would be to see positive reviews in foreign language about your accommodation or attraction. It should also be noted that what are called translation memories are critical for lowering costs and maintaining consistency. If you have a sentence on your website that appears elsewhere on your site, translation memory is used to add that which has already been translated automatically. If you're not, i.e. you're not paying for the same thing twice. Back to Lauren.
Thanks, Andrew, for debunking those myths for us. So now let's look at the role of professional language services. Most obviously, they help break down language barriers and therefore facilitate communication. But importantly, an accurately conveyed message fosters both trust and understanding within a business context. As we mentioned earlier, the art of successful translation should be seen as invisible. Therefore, the essence of professional language services may not be immediately obvious. These services help maintain brand consistency and integrity, ensure legal compliance, enhance customer experience, and assist in unlocking international potential. The benefits of partnering with a language service provider shouldn't be underestimated, and as Andrew has already alluded to, it should be seen as a strategic investment. TTG's aim is to make the translation process as smooth as possible for our customers. If you think about the types of documents that you would need to have translated, it can involve a lot of items. However, With tightening budgets, you may not necessarily need to translate everything straight away. It's best to identify those key areas and relevant languages to your business as a starting point. Through such a partnership, you'll have access to 250 plus languages and indirectly be working with a group of specialist linguists. Our dedicated project managers will manage the entire process for you. They'll keep you appraised on progress, manage any updates to your copy, and ensure value for money, giving you peace of mind and delivering those all-important results. Talking of results, here's a success story from one of our clients. Moving across the Atlantic for a moment, Summit One is a viewing experience in Midtown Manhattan's tallest skyscraper. The tourist attraction opened 2 years ago. At the beginning of this year, they had very little marketing material translated, and their website was only in English. TTG helped change this when they were contacted by Fabio, who's responsible for the groups and special experiences, and he was in fact a presenter at one of the STA events last year. Fabio asked us to complete multiple pieces of marketing material in what they identified as their 5 core languages: Spanish, German, French, Brazilian Portuguese, and Chinese. In tandem, we were also asked on completing the translation of their website into these core languages, plus we have since completed the translation of all their legal documents. Given that part of Fabio's job is to present the attraction to various tourist attractions around the world, we've also assisted in the translation of various PowerPoint presentations. The work of our sales team, combined with the translations completed by TTG, has meant that Summit One is now one of the top 5 attractions in New York. So here are some other examples of companies that trust TTG, and hopefully there's a few names that you'll recognise, such as Virgin Atlantic, the AA, and the Hyatt Group. So now to talk a bit about our process. Everything is managed through our translation management system, and you'll have access to projects through the built-in client portal for easy submission and retrieval of documents. Work is allocated to teams of translators who translate, review, and effectively edit required content. To ensure quality, a native target language linguist is used to translate, and the translation is reviewed line by line by a second target language linguist. I've mentioned our project managers previously, and they really are worth their weight in gold. Using our technology, they'll ensure a number of factors are taken into consideration. This includes that glossaries, style guides, brand guidelines, and formatting requirements are adhered to, and that translation memories are appropriately applied for those all-important cost savings. So here's a short video to demonstrate this process specifically for website translation.
This is a short demonstration showing how easy it is to translate a website using an API plugin into a translation management system. Previously, without a plugin or an API connection, you might have had to copy and paste the text from your web page into a Word document and send that out for translation, and then when it was back from translation, have to manually copy and paste it back into your website and recreate all the formatting, etc. Using a plugin, you don't even need to site administration panel. We're going to show you this demonstration using WordPress and a plugin called WPML, which will link into a translation management system and show you how easy it is to select a page and send it for translation, receive it back, review it, and quickly see the results. This is the page we're going to use as a test. It's actually our page for STA members. We've gone into our WordPress admin. You may have a different website management system, but a lot of companies use WordPress. Here we select the page we want to translate. We're going to assign it to ourselves. You can select multiple pages and multiple languages, but for this we'll be doing one page in Spanish. This is now sending the page API directly to the translation management system. When it's received, the translators will be assigned to translate and review, and when it's complete, it will be returned automatically back to your platform. You can see now it is completed and the status is translation ready to download. When you download into your platform, the status is now complete and you can now review the translated page to make sure everything is okay, and then you can publish it on your site. And there is the translation. Exactly the same layout, same formatting, all pictures retained, etc. And that's how easy it is. So now you can imagine with multiple pages, there's no more need to copy and paste or export files. You can just select them in your own admin panel, send them for translation, receive them back, preview the pages before publishing, then hit publish and they'll be live. Thank you.
Okay, I would like to change the subject now to a service which allows companies to actually speak with their customers in their own language when that is required. Known as telephone interpreting, it's not widely known about outside of the public sector, but its use is growing exponentially. In case you are unaware of the service, and by way of example, if you have a customer who speaks only Chinese and you need to hold a phone conversation with him or her, you have the ability to bring an interpreter onto the call to assist in real time. The service is totally on demand and available 24/7, so there's no need to make an appointment, sort callbacks, etc. Unless you and your team happen to speak all the languages you need, phone interpreting is a very cost-effective service to have in your pocket. Sure, it's not as good as speaking French directly with your new French client, but it's much better than speaking louder in English or sounding like a character from Allo Allo for those old enough to remember the daft sitcom. And clients will appreciate you making the effort. Interestingly, and this is no word of a lie, as we were waiting in the hotel reception to check out following the STA conference, a Spanish father and son visiting Edinburgh were trying to make themselves understood to the hotel receptionist. Not easy when neither party speaks a common language. Now, to bring this to life a bit, we've recorded a couple of examples of foreign language calls to a fictitious hotel somewhere south of the border. We've had our challenges with Teams getting the audio to play over these past few days, so please bear with us if there are any delays. Please play the recording.
Hello, Sandy Cove Hotel. How can I help you?
Oui, bonjour monsieur, j'aurais aimé faire une réservation pour ce week-end pour 2 personnes, s'il vous plaît. Avez-vous de la place?
I'm sorry, Sandy Cove Hotel. I can't understand what you're saying. Can you speak English?
Vous parlez français? Réservation. Est-ce que vous parlez français? Une réservation pour ce week-end pour 2 personnes, s'il vous plaît. Vous parlez français?
No, I'm sorry. I do not speak English. Speak French. Only English. Please, can you not speak any English at all?
Parlez-vous français, monsieur? Mais enfin, je voudrais faire une réservation. C'est simple quand même. C'est tout simple. Une réservation pour ce week-end pour 2 personnes. Réservation week-end, 2 personnes.
Madame, I am sorry. There's no need to shout. I can hear you. I just cannot understand you.
C'est extraordinaire ça de ne pas parler le français.
So that call could clearly have gone a little bit better. So let's try this one. Please play the next recording.
Hello, Sandy Cove Hotel. Richard speaking. How can I help you?
Bonjour, je voudrais faire une réservation.
Are you French?
Oui, yes.
I don't speak French, but please hold the line one moment whilst I connect you to a French interpreter.
Ok.
Hi, my name's Lauren. I believe you need a French interpreter.
Hi, yes, this is Richard from the Sandy Cove Hotel. I have a French-speaking lady on the phone. I believe she's trying to make a reservation, but I don't speak French, so can you help?
Hi, Richard. Sure, not a problem. Let me just gather some information from her for you. Bonjour, madame. Je m'appelle Lorraine et je suis votre interprète française.
Bonjour. Ah, enfin quelqu'un qui parle français. Je m'appelle Madame Sabar et je voudrais faire une réservation pour ce week-end, pour samedi et dimanche soir, pour moi et mon mari. Je voudrais savoir le prix et à quelle heure on pourrait arriver.
D'accord, madame. Je vais demander s'ils ont de la place ce week-end, à quelle heure vous pouvez arriver et le prix. Hi, Richard. Madame Sabar would like to make a reservation for 2 nights this weekend, for Saturday and Sunday, for her and her husband. She'd like to know the price and what time they can arrive.
Sure, hang on. Yes, we have an ensuite premier room available for 2 nights for £120 per night, with breakfast included. Check-in is from 3 p.m. and parking is available on site should it be needed. To make the reservation, we simply need an email address to send the confirmation of the booking to.
Okay, let me just relay that for you.
Okay, we've paused the recording here as I am sure everyone has got the gist of the call. But that's telephone interpreting in a nutshell, a service used by organisations like the AA, the NHS, airlines, taxi firms and the like. And the best bit, you only pay for the service when you use it, and you pay only for the minutes of interpreting used, not a second more. So in essence, you have 200 plus languages in your pocket in case you need one, and it doesn't cost a penny until you need some linguistic support. Enough from me. I will now hand back to Lauren again.
Thanks, Andrew, and I hope you all enjoyed those couple of examples. So we'd like to leave you with 4 key takeaways as to around the positive impacts of professional language services and the impact they can have on your business and the Scottish tourism industry. The first is that embracing languages creates an inclusive and welcoming environment. This not only attracts potential visitors, but can lead to those key referrals and could potentially boost growth exponentially. Number 2 is that language services put your business in the best position possible within the market and can help you stand out from the crowd. Number 3 is that language services can help you cast a much wider net and significantly increase those all-important direct bookings. And lastly, language services can help put Scotland and its array of attractions and destinations on the international radar, making it an accessible destination of choice. So back to Andrew for our bottom line.
Okay, thanks, Lauren. Our goal at Transatlantic is to help Scottish tourism business unlock their global potential and achieve long-term success. By providing extraordinary language solutions, collaboration and championing innovation, we're confident we can contribute to Scotland's tourism industry's continued growth and prosperity. Now, what we would like to do is try and answer the questions that have been coming in during our presentation.
Andrew, Lauren, thanks very, very much indeed for that presentation. Certainly opened my eyes to the number of languages being spoken around the world or that exist around the world. Great to see Summit One as well, becoming one of your clients. I'm delighted to have made that referral, and Fabio was a great presenter at our conference for those of you that remember him. So if anybody has got questions, if you'd like to raise your hand as well, and what I'll try and do is moderate the session and bring it in. We've got a couple of questions that have come in from in the chat at the moment. Jasmine Jackson is asking, can you use the telephone service with someone at your physical site to help translate, for example, on entrance to an attraction, but using one telephone hours? So I don't know if that's simple one. So I guess it's handing the phone backwards and forwards. Jasmine, is that what you're inferring?
Yeah,
Well, the way we would suggest doing that, I mean, most phones now have a loudspeaker on it. Now, I appreciate if it was sensitive, then it would be pass the phone back and forth. But the normal course of events, put the call on loudspeaker, and then you've got your visitor and yourself listening and communicating with the interpreter that's coming over the phone.
Fabulous. That's excellent. Thank you.
Great. Thanks for that. And then we've got Jason Martin. Jason up in Aviemore in the Cairngorms. Jason, your question.
Thanks, Lauren and Andrew. The WordPress integration tool, that was really interesting. And I'm just getting intrigued to know, how it would look for, a visitor, that Spanish visitor on the other side. Would they have to click the kind of, the typical small Spanish flag icon? Would you suggest, translating how many pages would you suggest translating? The whole website, just key elements? I've seen a DMO Durham just this week, kind of having a kind of a German language option on their website, but it did seem to just be, I think, for a page or two. So I'm just intrigued to hear from your perspective. How many pages would you suggest, and then how easy is that WordPress integration tool? Well, not to use, because the demonstration was really good, but to kind of get started with it. Thanks.
Yes, so I'll take that question. So we'd suggest that you start with the key elements. Obviously, it's completely dependent on budgets, but if you could send us the website to take a look at with you, we can kind of advise the different parts that we would say you would actually need translated straight away. I mean, it would depend on the number of words, the repetitions, and the repeated content within that. So yeah, it's completely dependent on which parts you think are those key parts, but we talk you through that most definitely.
Also, I would have, if I interject, yes, I like the idea of a flag or something at the top of the screen so people can choose a Spanish flag or a Chinese flag. I think that's a nice, easy way to navigate a website.
Clear identification, I guess, isn't it? And going which way to go. So I know, Jason, I was speaking to Philippa Tuffer, Arnold Clark, and again, they don't have all of their pages in different languages. It's more around the ones that are I think of the disclaimer pages, the insurance pages that are the ones needing, I suppose, the best scrutiny and consideration. So as an example there, I like, Alistair, thank you. I'm reminded of the old joke, if you speak 2 languages, you're bilingual. If you speak just 1, you're British. Thank you for that, Alistair. And Jill, I guess it's similar to the question that Jason just asked, but how much would the page translation cost? So the one you showed as an example and the phone interpretation, rough idea of what that might cost, not wanting to put you on the spot, but as you gave it as an example.
Well, on the interpreting side, we're very simple. There's a one-size-fits-all rate. Doesn't matter what the language, time of day, or anything. And we have an STA preferential rate of £1.15. That's 1.15 plus VAT per minute.
Okay, great, yeah. Thank you. And that web page, roughly?
On the web page, so it's actually so our project manager would use the technology to kind of go through the web page and identify repetitions and similar content. So it's completely dependent on the word count. It's charged per word, but those repetitions and those similar content are at a lower price. So it's dependent on how many repetitions and how much content is repeated.
Equally, some languages like Spanish, French are at a lower cost than the Chinese languages, so it's not quite as simple as the telephone interpreting piece, but we always quote our clients, prior to commencing with any projects.
Okay, so I mean, I guess on that particular page, you haven't actually sort of identified a specific costing for that. You've just done it as an example.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. Thank you. So, Jill, if you've got a page that you want to quote for, as Jason has asked the same, then I'm sure if you wanted to email it over, they would give you a fix based on what the type of number of words and various content it has on it to get a fix. Has anyone else got any other thoughts? I mean, we hear a lot about technology and obviously curation, the likes of GeoTourist and people like that who are telling their doing their guided tours in different languages as well. And again, when you hear about the success of people of geotourists and how people are buying into the tour for interpretation and hearing the true stories told in their own native language, I think it does make a difference, and it enhances the experiential piece. And this is about how do we compete in a market for that international audience. And going back to my words at the beginning of the webinar, the fact that we've lost so many language speakers from our workforce, it is really, I think, a big opportunity for businesses to make sure that we can still connect and attract in, and our Chinese visitors hopefully will return in volume in the not too distant future. Anyone else? Any other questions for now?
Mark, I did get a question through, which was how quickly can you turn around translation requests of the written word? Lauren, you best take that since it's more your skill set than mine.
Yes, so we work on business days basically, and we work on around between 1,500 and 2,000 words per day, but we can work on multiple languages simultaneously. So again, it's dependent on the total number of words of the project, but that's kind of a rough guideline.
Okay, that's good. And of course, I guess international content for conferencing and things like that as well in terms of interpretation. Is that something else TTG can provide in those services?
It's not a core, conferencing, live conferencing with booze and all the rest of it. It's not a core service of ours, but we do help a number of clients with it. Most of our interpreting service is this remote, on-demand, consecutive interpreting piece. But if you have a language requirement, related to translation or interpreting or anything, give us a shout, and yeah, if we can't help, we can certainly point you in the right direction, but I'm pretty sure we'll be able to help out.
Okay, that's great. Well, I'm not seeing any other questions come in, but I'm obviously very sure that people have. I'm just saying, could STA do a webinar on how we, as a very small host business, attract overseas visitors with our own marketing activities? Yes. Okay, I'll take that away, and we can perhaps pick up with other colleagues as well on that front. But for now, I think all I can say is thanks very much indeed, Lauren and Andrew. I mean, we've worked very closely with you over the last few weeks and months, and great to have your support too. And it was fantastic to see you at our conference. And I know you're intending to come, I think, and join us up in Aberdeen in March as well. But for anybody that does want to access direct, we'll share the contact details again at the end of this webinar, and of course the links to TTG are there live on our website. There, many of you are in destination organizations, and please do cascade this the services that TTG offer on